Hey boys, how we all doing?
Boys.
Hey, brother. A big happy birthday. We hope you had an amazing day. I did get to speak to you, but did you have a nice day? I know you went out for dinner.
So Friday night just did a regular catch up with the normal crew, and they just brought a cake and blew out the candles. And then on Saturday was my actual birthday, and I just wanted it low key. I just went out for dinner and a movie. To be honest, I just wanted to chill and take it easy and relax, and that's what I ended up doing. Had a nice little sleep in on Sunday, and that was it.
Perfect, man.
That's what happens when you get old.
That was awesome, bro.
How about you? How was your week?
Yeah, it was good. It's absolutely teeming down rain at the moment, so it's pretty miserable. And reckon it's going to take like 3 hours to drive up to London today. But otherwise it's good. I just can't believe it's like 2 weeks till Christmas. I feel like it's just gone so fast this year, as cliche as that sounds.
Do you have to do Christmas shopping? Like, what are you going to do with the kids?
Do you know what's funny? We actually gave Amazon an absolute thrashing over the weekend just because it's so quick in terms of getting stuff delivered. But with the kids, we just sort of said they've got their Santa stockings they have. They'll be getting heaps of presents from all of the family from over here. But we just said we'd buy them because we always spoil them. But they have everything. And all we're going to have to do is buy a heap of stuff that we're then going to have to bring back. So they're just getting kind of one big present each that they'll get from Santa, and then they just got heaps of clothes and stuff like that. And then any of the toys that they get, they'll probably end up just leaving here for their cousins to have. So
Yeah, because I guess whatever you buy, it's stuff you got to bring back, right?
yeah. So for example, I've actually got it hidden in my office area here. So for example, Harvey's been obsessed with like a police helicopter stuff. So I got him this like hectic rescue police helicopter thing,
That's
which
awesome.
he'll absolutely froth. But even that, I'm looking at it and I'm like, I don't know how that's gonna get back like in the suitcase. So it's probably gonna have to be donated to one of his cousins.
He's gonna have to let it go. That is gonna be interesting.
Yeah, to be fair, they've got heaps of toys back home. So what about you? What are you guys doing for Christmas?
I do Christmas Day with my in-laws. It's around the corner from your place,
Yeah.
Scotty and Monty. And then
Yeah.
Christmas Day with my folks up at Doreen, and then we'll have to straight up to the beach house up at Inverloch and stay there till the third. We've got to come back because we've got our 33 weeks. Yeah, and I think it'll be then. Just crazy, man, to
Wow.
think that we're not far away. We're past 30 weeks, 10 weeks to go if it lasts that long. It's getting really real now. So this will be our last
Exciting.
Christmas without the baby being on the outside world. So
It's exciting, man. It's really, really exciting.
It's so exciting, man.
can't wait. Her room's all done. I nearly said her name then. I've got to be careful. Everyone's asking me. I'm like, nah, it's we're keeping it a secret. My mum and my mother-in-law would desperately like to know because they want to start buying things and knitting things, but we're going to keep it till the last minute. But yeah, everything's done. Her room's done. Got some nice little wall decals. Anything I've got to do is put the car seats in. But I cannot wait, man. Like I'm ready right now.
Of course, you've
It
been waiting
literally
for
gets
so
like
long.
that, doesn't it? Where you just like hurry up, I'm ready.
I know, and I feel for poor Maeve because she's been pretty petite and lean her whole life, and the baby's just all front hitch, man, and her back, her hips, and she's so active. She just kicks and rolls around all day long. To the point where if you watch the stomach, you can just see feet. It's an incredible thing, man. Like I just sit there and watch it sometimes. I might watch it for an hour at night. There's TVs on me watching the TV, and I'm just watching her stomach lying down next to it. And just like talking through her belly. Did you do that?
Yeah, well, I remember with Harvey, Jenny used to just sit on the couch, and it was in summer that she was like heavily pregnant because he was born in May, and even with Evie when it was quite warm, she was late October. She would just sit there in like little short shorts and a sports bra, and I would just see this belly, and you just see like an elbow or a hand.
Yeah.
And it's usually after drinking something or eating something that they're really, really active and then they're moving around. And it's just, when you like think about it, it's like there's a little human inside your body growing. It's
Crazy.
crazy. Wait till the actual birthing experience. A lot of people get really freaked out, but I remember I was like so inquisitive. I wanted to like look at the placenta, the color of it, because that like gives you a lot of insight in terms of that experience. It's probably the most emotional, overwhelming experience that you'll ever experience in your entire life. Like I remember with Harvey just being like, I reckon I'll be emotional, but I had no idea. Like I'm not normally an emotional guy. I'm not really a crier or anything like that. But I remember with Harvey, like I was, and I even afterwards, you're just so. It's unlike anything you'll ever experience. It's one of the most powerful, just incredible, euphoric moments that you'll have as a human being. So I'm so excited that you're going to get to experience it. And knowing who you are and how you are as a person, it'll just be like, no words can describe it or do it justice, man. It's going to be amazing.
I appreciate that. Yeah,
So
I'm getting a little
exciting.
flutters now, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, man, that's what it is, especially and you're holding it. It's like this this is a life that you guys, it's, you know, both of your DNA, you made it, you created it, and it's like you're responsible for that child until the end of time. It's just it's such a phenomenal thing that you guys are going to get to experience. So I can't wait. Jenny and I were actually just saying last night, she was like, she's ecstatic that she's going to get to meet your baby. And we still haven't met my nephew, Max, Zach and George's baby. And equally, her sister's pregnant. And she's due literally like 2 weeks after you guys. And they're obviously having their baby here. So I'm going to get to meet him, her sister's baby, for the first time before she does. But she's going to get to meet your baby and obviously baby Max. So there's babies everywhere.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Such a beautiful thing.
Won't be long, and MT will be on the party as well. We'll be the 3 Jack bodybuilders just pushing prams around the park.
And then the next prep coach meetup, we've obviously got one this Sunday, but maybe we can do one day where it's like having it mine or yours, Scotty, and kids allowed as well.
Yeah, man, 100%.
That'd be fun.
It'd be so good. Yeah. Got our meetup this Sunday, Powerhouse, which I'm really excited. Again, Scotty, spewing that you can't be there, but yeah, we'll do them when you get back. But we've got it, Powerhouse, Bayswater, 10 a.m. this Sunday, which we're really looking forward to. MG and I were just talking about what we're going to train. We're most likely going to be training probably a push day, maybe a little bit of lower body, a little bit of upper body push, but we're just going to roam around and just trial the equipment and train with everyone and just have a really, really good time. So yeah, I definitely can't wait.
Excited.
Yeah, be awesome.
Try and jump in on a few exercises with a few different people that are coming. It's obviously not going to be as an aesthetic day as it could be without Scott, but we will do our best to keep you all entertained, and hopefully we'll get an awesome group photo. We actually just had our Optimum Nutrition Christmas party on Sunday, and man, we had so many people turn up, and it was just one of the most amazing days ever, and it just made me so pumped for this Sunday. So to make sure we get a really nice group photo for the page.
Definitely. While we're talking about training, I'm going to jump straight into a training question, and I think it must be related to one of you boys, or at least one of you boys' clients, because they're talking about a male. So thoughts on doing cardio after weights instead of doing cardio separately to weights. My coach has recommended me doing the cross trainer after my weights, but after speaking to one of your athletes who goes to the gym, he advised me to do it separately. Can you guys explain the reasons why? So maybe, Scotty, you want to start with, why would we separate weights and cardio? And if we have no choice but to do them together, in what order would you do them?
I would never, and I don't advise my clients or my athletes to do cardio after they've done their weights, mainly because depending on the cardio they're doing, but I'll usually prescribe cardio. If they're going to do cardio, it'll be at least, in a 120 to sort of 130, 140 beats per minute sort of range. And depending on how long they're going to be obviously performing that specific amount of cardio, you're going to see an upregulation in some of the signaling proteins that essentially block and attenuate maximizing muscle protein synthesis. So there's kind of like 2 pathways that I guess you could take. So if you're looking at improving mitochondrial biogenesis and getting fitter and being an aerobic beast to upregulate a lot of those proteins that are involved in those pathways, that is going to have a deleterious effect on muscle protein synthetic. You like that word deleterious, don't you?
Yeah.
I could see your eyes light up. It's going to have a negative impact on maximizing those downstream proteins involved in signaling the mTOR pathway. So I think it wouldn't make any sense at all from that, because obviously when you finish a weight session, you want to maximize that signaling that obviously activates that to switch on and obviously tell your body to create more proteins, versus if you're going to be blunting it, then physiologically it doesn't make much sense. So that's why I would never prescribe cardio afterwards. I also think in terms of managing fatigue, it makes more sense if you're going to do your cardio, you could do that in the morning. Ideally, if you were doing it fasted, when you wake up in the morning, you're going to be in a state of lipolysis. You could have a protein feeding, which is not going to blunt lipolysis. And then obviously you could do it. So sipping on like aminos or something like that, maximize, fat oxidation. And then obviously doing your weights, you're obviously going to want to feed carbohydrate around that. So if it was in the context of trying to get lean, that would be the rationale behind it. Or you'd come back later at night and prescribe and doing it then. And I'd typically get my athletes to do their cardio earlier or in the evening for those reasons. So they're either waking up in a lower state to maximize lipolysis, or going to bed in a lower state to just maximize lipolysis. And then obviously we just spoke about not blunting that muscle protein synthetic response. Yeah.
So what you're saying is, after you finish training, your body is trying to recover, it's trying to rebuild muscle. And if you were to do cardio at that point, you'd interrupt that. You could affect your gains.
Yeah, basically, because that when you resistance train, like I said, you turn on that switch. So I always refer to that in terms of muscle protein synthesis. It's like a dimming switch. And so when we're training, we're taking sets to failure, we want to turn that switch up as bright as we can to maximize the response, which is why when we finish weights, we go and have a protein feeding to elongate that response. But if we're going to the cross trainer and then we're doing a heap of cardio, then you're turning down the lights and you're blunting that response. So it wouldn't make any sense in terms of why you're doing that. I get it, maybe time efficiency, but yeah, it wouldn't make much sense to me to do it that way. That's just how I view it. What about you, boys?
I was just going to ask if you had no choice and you're at the gym and you've only got one block of time in the day to get all your training and all your cardio done. What if you were to train upper body and then your cardio was lower body based? Would that help? Would it still blunt, muscle building in your upper body where you train those muscles?
I would think it would still have a negative impulse. Yeah, it still probably would. And if you were having to do them together, I would do the cardio component first and then build in a little buffer where you can then go and have a carbohydrate feeding. Ideally, you want something that would be getting into the blood really quickly, like I don't know, either it was some cereal or Pop-Tarts. I know you're a Pop-Tart man, MT, something like that, as well as having a protein feeding and then going and doing your resistance training session. But I wouldn't be doing cardio straight afterwards. If I had no choice, I would do the cardio first and then go and do your weights and try and pair it so that ideally if it was a lower body session, you could use it as though you're just trying to get, a decent amount of blood into the tissue beforehand. So you're going to maximize proprioception and then go and do your session.
Okay, let's move on to coaching rates. Do you offer a different rate between whether you're in comp prep or whether you're in off season? This person said, I know it's a valuable service, but it's hard to justify, obviously the price when I plan to have an extended off season. So just by what this person is saying, I'm assuming that maybe the price is high and they're now in an off season. They're probably expecting the price to go down because their off season is going to be so long. And it's maybe hard to afford that. So do you guys have a different price rate depending on whether you're in prep or off season, or do you have it the same all the way through? Maybe MG, you want to start?
Yeah, so ours currently are all the same the way through. I think for us three, I don't know what you guys charge us off. I think we're at the lower end of what is up there on the market, and I think we've probably proven that we have the track record of getting results. So I don't think that necessarily we need to change our prices. I definitely have seen some big changes in prices from as much as an extra $50 a week for comp prep. I will agree that there's definitely a lot more that goes into a comp prep than into an off season at times. But I've also got clients in off season who get the same amount of attention as someone in prep too. So yeah, we don't have any changes in prices. It certainly has been something that we have discussed, but at this point in time, everything is the same. And I think you guys are the same too.
Yeah, I'm the same. How about you, Scotty?
Yeah, I'm the same. The way I view it is it doesn't matter if I've got an athlete that's 200 weeks out or if they're 4 weeks out, the level and attention to detail that they get when I'm going through their check-in and I'm analyzing all of the data, looking at their numbers, making the notes, it's no different. Sometimes it's quicker than others. There might be, like I had an athlete who's in prep this morning and his check-in, going through all of his data. It was really, really cruisy. It was very straightforward, coming off a diet break. It literally took me maybe 3 or 4 minutes to make the notes. And then his check-in was done in like 10 minutes. But equally, a few weeks back, I would have spent like 30, 40 minutes going through everything thoroughly, sending it through. And then I've got an athlete that's in the improvement season and has had multiple injuries, and we're having to troubleshoot and navigate around that. And his check-in is probably taking me longer than anyone else's every week. So I think it's important to factor that in, that it's not just, and knowing that we don't just look at someone's data and say, yep, cool, here's your macros, off you go. You're paying for education, you're paying for in the years trenches experience. It's like that story of that guy who paid this company hundreds of thousands of dollars to look and fix this ship, and they couldn't work out what it was. And then they went and got this other guy and he fixed it in 5 minutes, and he sent them the exact same bill. And they're like, you only spent 5 minutes on it. And he's like, yeah, but I spent my whole lifetime working out where the problem was and how I can fix it so quickly. So you're not necessarily always just paying for, the duration in time. You're paying for that level of expertise and in the trenches experience. And that's the difference between working with someone who doesn't just get a result, maybe in one of their or two of their athletes. It's consistent. You can see if Michael Trimboli or Michael Galanti's client stepping up into whatever division, that they're one of those athletes. It's like straight away as an athlete, oh no, I've got to go up against one of them, you know the standard that you're going to be battling with. So I think that's really important. I think, like anything, it's important that you have to value your service. Like when we first started, I didn't charge, $105 a week for a check-in. It was probably something like in the realms of like 50, but equally, as your scope of practice gets better, you evolve, you get better. And also you have demand. I think one of the advantages and even then, like you said, there's people that charge well above, $100 and equally don't really offer the services to probably match that. But I think, like anything, inflation occurs, but also, you're paying to work with top people. Like if you're paying that sort of money, you should be getting really, really good results. And if you're not, then obviously it's fair enough. You couldn't justify that. If someone was not getting bang for their buck and they're being charged a lot of money, I think that's more than fair enough to say, I don't think that it's fair that I pay that amount of money. But if you're getting results, they're attentive, you have good communication, and you're getting better progressively from week to week, then that's what you want. I think too many people lapse on, I'm going to look after my own off season, and they come back in 2 years' time to do a season and they look no difference at all. Versus you look at someone who takes the time to invest and actually treat their off season with the same respect as they do a contest prep, but obviously eating more food, and the focus is not around losing weight and body composition, it's about getting stronger and building their physique, then that's where, they evolve from season to season. And that's the difference.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point, is just taking that off season seriously. Like, how many times do we get people that inquire and they're like, oh, I want to do season B. And you're like, well, that's 9 months away. That's prep is 5-6 months. There's only 3 months to work in the off season. It's not enough time. We see it all the time that people aren't understanding that the off season takes the most amount of time, especially if you've got muscle to build. It takes a long time. Maybe addressing your metabolism and addressing your habits and, your routine and your schedule and becoming a good athlete can be done fairly quickly in comparison to how long it takes to build some muscle. So, sometimes it can take 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, or 18 months to build your physique to a point where you have the mass to now be competitive. And that's why we see a lot of people that compete season to season or even just year to year. Sometimes they don't see the changes because, they've spent 2 months reversing, and then they've spent some time just not taking their off season seriously. And then before they know it, they're back into a comp prep again, and they really haven't spent any time in a serious surplus and taking their training really, really seriously.
If you are as meticulous to the attention to detail that you are in a contest prep in the improvement season, watch your physique grow. Like, you can't expect a plant to grow if you don't water it and give it sunlight. But if you do, then obviously it's going to continue to flourish. And that's the thing. It's being committed and doing those day-to-day non-negotiables when you don't have those goalposts that are just so close. Like, prep might be 2025 and it's the end of 2023. So it's like, I'll just train for half an hour, or I don't have time to quickly make that meal to take with me. I'll just grab something on the way. It's like, well, it's not really that optimal. Would you do that in prep?
Mm-hmm.
You look at it as a one-off, but all of these things compound, and it's a slippery slope, in my opinion.
Yeah, prep is just unveiling the hard work that you've done in the off season. So if you haven't done the hard work, it's definitely going to show on stage. Whenever I explain to a new client or someone that's going to prep, I explain prep is just a long fat loss journey. Don't expect muscle mass to be grown during that time. Don't expect to make gains. Don't expect to automatically start to build shoulders and glutes. And that should have all been done before prep even starts. So, and then when you put that in perspective, because, from the outside point of view, if you're not really educated in what it takes to be an athlete and the comp prep process, they just think that all the work's done in prep. That's it. You can just walk straight into a prep and you're going to make all these gains and also get into condition at the same time. It's just not going to happen.
Prep's the easy part, in my opinion. I don't think prep is that hard. I think all you're doing is you're just eating less.
Also, prep is a lot more motivating because you've got the show impending and you've got a purpose to make sure that you are on point because you're about to be judged half naked on stage. So it's a pretty serious goal to force you to be accountable to. Whereas in the off season, it's like, oh yeah, I'm competing in about 12 months, 18 months time. Yeah, it's plenty of time. I've got plenty of time.
Mm-hmm. And you get to see changes on a week-to-week basis versus in the improvement season, you if you're doing everything great and perfect, you likely are adding new contractile tissue, but you're not normally going to see the fruits of that labor until you pull back a few of those layers and take a peek underneath the hood. So it's like, that's why I think when you're dieting, you might be tired, but then you wake up the next morning and you see a new line or a new vein or a striation. It's like that gives you that extra bit of versus when you wake up and the last thing you feel like doing is eating and then having to go and do a heavy leg session or whatever it may be, then obviously that is where the real challenge is, because it's like, you're committed when all the bright lights are on and all the attention's on you and everyone's talking about your prep. But what about when it's just you and the barbell and no one else is around, or your containers, are you still going to take them with you? You're still going to be that attentive. And, if you really want to improve and you look at the top athletes, guys, girls in any of the divisions, they're doing that all year round. Success leaves clues.
While we're talking about coaching a little bit, we've got a question about what type of planners, trackers, journals do you use with your clients? So I know with us, we track data as the week progresses. Some of us use like a spreadsheet or an app or things like that, but that's like our coaching system. Do you guys have any clients that have something themselves offline that's not part of your coaching system that they use to track certain things or to journal certain things or to-do lists or anything like that? How about you, MG?
No, I suppose with our tracker system that we use, it's kind of an all-in-one. So it takes feedback on everything, allows them to kind of journal and leave notes that then we can go in and assess and make mention of. And then I've actually got a separate system, which is where the training log is, that also has a more detailed check-in, which basically asks, 10 to 12 questions about the week and covers everything from lifestyle, mental health, nutrition, all of that. So it's pretty comprehensive. And, as a coach, that's definitely the information that we're looking for. And it forms, a big part of what we discuss every single week. The only thing that I've seen is some clients that like to use a bit of a different training log. So, ours is kind of online and saves digitally. But there's some clients that use an app. I don't know if you guys have heard of the Heavy app, Hevy. Basically what it is it's just an online app that you can load so I write the program for them. They load it into this app and it records all their results and accumulates the total volume for each session. It accumulates when they've hit a new PB or a new record. It has a rest timer within it, and then sends the total volume for that session and then does it for the next one. So like, you did 17 ton today on your leg day, and the next time you did 17.3 ton. Yeah, you had a 300 kilo volume accumulation. So that's probably the only thing that I've seen that's not part of what I do that I don't mind. Funnily enough, there's a new system that I think I've mentioned on this podcast before, which me and my team are thinking of switching over to. We've done a bit of a trial, which I think I've mentioned is called Kahuna. I think I told GMT once upon a time, which pretty much has all that within it. What it also does is it gets you to rate your workout in terms of difficulty via a score, and then sends that to your coach as well. And it's kind of an all-in-one software. So if there's any coaches out there who may be new or starting out and are not sure what type of software they could utilize to help them get all the information they need off their athletes, try Kahuna with a K. Not sure on the pricing of it, but it is absolutely an all-in-one. And they're currently ironing out some bugs so that it integrates with MyFitnessPal. So your macro tracking is uploaded instantaneously.
I actually have some clients in the team that are also online coaches and they use Kahuna and they like it too. So
yeah.
How about you, Scotty? Do you have any clients that use any tracking systems outside of your coaching?
Not that I'm aware of. As far as I know, everyone just uses they just use the spreadsheet again. It's pretty comprehensive. It has all of their periodization for the week in terms of what the week would look like. It has all of their programming within it. They log all their data in it. So each week when they submit their check-in, it updates in the cloud and I have access to it and they do. And then all the other qualitative and quantitative metrics that we would want to know, things from sleep to session performance, hunger signaling, the menstrual cycle, just all of the fun stuff. So it's pretty much a one-stop shop. But equally, like you guys, I think each year you're kind of just looking at ways that you can make it a little bit better, polish it, and it's evolving and you're continually adding bits and pieces to it. But for the most part, the structures of it are pretty sound and solid. So there may be some athletes that log some of their stuff, but I think these days in the tech world, it's pretty easy. Most people go into the gym with their phone on them. They have their ability to do that. The only thing that I ask my athletes to do is to make sure that when they're training, because I think these days it's too easy to just look at an email or look at an Instagram. When they're on. So they, I always just try and encourage them to stay off social media, stick your phone on Do Not Disturb so that when you have that time, you can be present. Otherwise, it's very easy to just get distracted before you know it, you spent 5 or 6 minutes scrolling or something like that. That's probably the only downside of logging all of your data in a tech devices. If you're not someone that's very disciplined with staying offline, then it can be a bit challenging.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, I want to move on a little bit. So we're going to talk about comp prep. This one's very specific. So a first-time competitor doing season B next year. Their coach is in Sydney. They're from Melbourne. Will it impede me on show day if I don't have my coach there backstage helping me? What do you think, NG? So if someone's not going to have their coach there because their coach is interstate, do you think a first-time competitor think it's going to affect them in some way?
If you've not been to many comps before, and certainly your first time on stage, it can be very nerve-wracking and daunting being backstage, around sometimes, close to 100 athletes who have got a team around them. I don't think it's impossible or necessarily can't happen, as long as the plan that's implemented and sent through is very, very detailed and that the athlete has a helper on the day to be able to assist them. But I definitely think as a first-time athlete, it would be advantageous to have your coach there. I know for me, I coach athletes interstate, as you boys do as well. And, I always try and get there no matter what the state is for my athlete's first show, because I know how important of an experience it is. And I'm a very big advocate and believer in the fact that someone's first experience in the comp prep world can make or break whether they'll stay around in the sport. And, I've seen a lot of people have negative experiences that potentially could have been avoided. Not having the coach isn't the only one. There was some planning and communication issues that led to people having a really bad first show. But I think, from my point of view, making sure that I'm there for any of my athletes' first shows, whether they're in their state or not, is something that I always try and do, unless there's some unforeseeable reason I can't be there. I will always try to. And I know that you guys do the same. Can it be managed if there's just no possible way that your coach can be there? Absolutely it can. If I was the athlete, I would want my plan as early as possible so I can plan and prepare and organise someone to be there to support me. And also just from a logistical organisation point of view, if you're a female athlete, you've got to coordinate things like tan, hair and makeup. Having a lot of time to do that as a first timer would be very, very beneficial. That's my thoughts. What do you think?
How about you, Scotty?
Yeah, I think it definitely can be. As, MG mentioned, it's just making sure that you have a sound awareness of what's involved, what's expected, and equally conversations around peak week should be taking place well and truly before peak week, especially if you're not going to be there for your athlete. But as you said, having a helper, the detailed plan, I think if you're not having that level of attention to detail, in today's day and age of coaching, then you're probably not working with the right person. You should have a breakdown of what your day looks like. Equally, no peak week is ever just perfect where everything, well, sometimes maybe, but it's rare that you don't have to auto-regulate and make adjustments. But as long as there's really good dialogue and communication between athlete and coach, I think it's not a problem. I think as a coach, you need to be a little bit, not a little bit, you have to make sure that you are absolutely, on the ball. And I can probably attest to that more than anyone because I'm over in the UK and obviously I missed a few of those shows at the back end. Equally for the last show, the Worlds, I actually stayed awake all night to make sure that Ethan and Ev I went to bed about 10 to 6 to make sure that they were on stage and they were good checking in. So it can definitely be done. It comes down to how invested your coach is. And equally, if, you've engaged with them to coach you, then you probably think that they are of that higher echelon, in which case I'm sure they will be. But equally, like MG said, I think if your coach can be there, I think it's, especially for the first one, it's a pretty important show. But equally, I don't think it's it's not going to be negative in terms of your result or how well you do. Maybe just the comfort side of things, because in reality, all the coach is going to be doing is just following most likely what is on that plan that you're doing anyway. Maybe some minor adjustments if you're peaking someone that's super shredded, if they're a bodybuilder or fitness or something like that, the look changes on a minute by minute basis. But otherwise, a lot of it's just giving that nurture and that reassurance. You're good, you look great. And equally, it probably holds a bit more weight coming from that person because they're the one that steered you through this entire prep. So I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's definitely not going to impact things as long as you're organized. But equally, if you had to choose between having your coach there or not, you would obviously prefer to have your coach there.
Yeah, definitely. I think with this person, because they are doing season B next year, there's a hell of a lot of time. So I'd actually have that conversation right now and ask the coach, what do I expect in my peak week show day plan? How much detail does it go into? Are you going to give me education before that? Should I have a helper? What should their involvement be? I'd be asking all those questions now, because if you don't get the response you want, having that conversation 2 weeks before the show is just too late. So have that conversation now. Really try to find out what your experience is going to be like on show day. So you can maybe even make an informed decision that maybe you do need a coach that is local and that can be there on show day. So I think you have a little bit of time up your sleeve, because you still got 12 months before you step on stage, but really try to find out what the coaching experience is going to be like on that day.
And maybe even see if that coach has athletes in your particular state that can come and support. My athletes do that for each other all the time. So you might not have someone, might not be able to make it up to Queensland, but equally you've got other guys or girls that are in Queensland. You can say, hey, would you mind going down? You're going to be at the show anyway. This is Sarah or this is Ben. This is their first show. And having someone from within the team, again, we all do that with one another as well. I think things like that, are also really good alternatives and options as well. So maybe just even see if that's a possibility too.
Yeah, definitely. That's a really good point. I actually had Candace do that for some of my athletes in New South Wales. And obviously she's competed 101 times and she knows exactly what to do. So, and she's followed my plans meticulously before. So she was a great person to be there for. And Candace, she's like a ball of energy, right? She's like,
she's a hype girl. Yeah.
She's the best hype person you could ever have on show day. So yeah, if your coach has a team and there's athletes that are in your area, then maybe you can see if they can be there instead of your coach to help you through the process. All right, talking about comps. So we had a question for you, MG. MG and AMB, what's happening there?
At the end of, sort of towards the end of last season, I made a decision and let Jen know that I would be taking a back step from AMB moving forward as promoter. And the reason behind it, everyone knows obviously baby's due. And the gym lately has been, very, very busy. We're certainly the busiest we've ever been, 5 staff. And I was just sort of feeling like, I wasn't giving enough to my team. And, weighing that all up, plus, the commitments that are going to be coming next year, as we spoke about at the start of the podcast, which is the most important thing that has ever happened to me. And I want to make sure that, I'm able to give that 200%. I just decided that I would take a back step and pass on the promoter reins and try and put my time and focus into the things that I suppose put me in the position that I was, that made me, who I am today, which was ultimately coaching and this place here at Optimum Nutrition. So that was the basis of the decision. So you'll still see me around. I just won't have anything to do with the running or the coordinating of the shows moving forward. So apologies to anyone that has messaged or asked questions. Just direct them directly to AMB moving forward.
It's really good to know, because obviously a lot of people have supported you over the recent years that you've been a promoter. So I'm sure that they were thinking of maybe doing an AMB show next year, maybe that you were going to be a part of it. So at least they have that level of information now to, start to plan out what their athletes are going to be doing next year and what their season is going to be looking like. And I know it was obviously a big decision for you to make to step away, but I'm sure there'll be plenty of opportunities for you in the future that will come up that will definitely take up some of your time. So,
towards the end, I wasn't able to give it 100% of my time, and I felt like, I wasn't doing a justice to it, and I wasn't doing a justice to myself as well. And I just didn't like that feeling of feeling like I was half-assing something. So, out of respect for everyone involved, I thought it was the right thing to do, and it wasn't easy, but I had to do it for the right reasons. And ultimately, the family was the first decision, and making sure that I have ample time to do the things that, I suppose pay the bills. So,
man, if you half-assing something is breaking records with spectators in season B, you're doing pretty good.
Maybe half-assing is not the word, but I certainly felt like juggling everything was maybe getting a little bit too much.
Mm-hmm.
And as you boys, know me really well, that's just not a feeling I like to sit with.
Yeah, well, you didn't let it show. You did absolutely amazing. You rebuilt that state of Victoria into what it is today, which is the biggest state for that federation. So you should be really, really proud of everything that you've done. And so many people supported you. There's so many coaches that put their athlete in that show because they knew you were the promoter. So you're definitely leaving on a high for sure.
Yeah, and I appreciate everyone's support. I appreciate the opportunity. And, I'll still be heavily involved in the sport. Just, I had to prioritise the podcast. That's podcast number one, right?
And having a baby.
That's it.
All right, let's move on to something else. Scotty, this one's going to be for you, I think. I've never heard of cream of rice. Do you buy it pre-made, or do you have to make it yourself? Come on, Scotty, tell us the secrets.
You can buy it pre-made, and a lot of people do buy it pre-made, but it's just it was so hard to get in Australia, and equally for what you get, it's so expensive for what it is. So I actually found rice flour, and I looked at, okay, well, how would you make it if you were just going to make it normally? And so you literally just use rice flour, use boiling water. You let the boiling water sort of just settle for like a minute or two, so it's not like literally just straight off the boil. And then you just add 3 to 4 times whatever. So let's say I'm having 100 grams of rice flour. You would do 300 to 400 mils of water. So a 3 to 4 to 1 ratio of water. Mix it through. Then you add your protein powder. Again, you mix it through and then you stick it in the microwave and add your fruit and bang, there you go. And it's so easy. For me, it's the GOAT pre-workout. I had it as my pre-stage meal for all of my shows because it's got no fiber, it's high carbohydrate, there's no fat, super easy to get, although it was actually really challenging to find. I had to go hunting to lots of supermarkets over here to find my rice flour supplier, but I found one. Yeah. But equally, the last time we spoke about it, within 2 days, my supermarket didn't have any left, to the point where when I was in Melbourne, I actually, whenever they restock it, I push, because I'm taller than most people, I push one of the big packet crates of it that has like 20 of them to the side and behind at the top shelf. So if someone's being greedy and then taking lots of them, and there are a few people that have been known to bulk buy, like the monsters, then at least that way I can get 2 or 3 if I need them. But yeah, I couldn't recommend them enough. Once you get the recipe and the method right in terms of how you make it and the consistency, it's good. I actually made a tutorial video on how to actually make it properly.
Yeah, I've seen it. So the pre-made one that you buy, what's pre-made about it? Like, what does it look like?
It's
What's
just
the
already got
texture?
the rice flour in it, and it will usually have the flavoring, and it will usually have the protein as well.
Okay. So it's nothing really
Versus
fancy.
this, the reason you add a flavored protein powder is to obviously give it some taste. Otherwise, you're just eating like warm rice flour.
Yeah. So that's okay. So all the pre-made is literally they just put the ingredients in the bag for you already, and that's what you're paying the money for. Yeah.
But for context, it's such a highly palatable meal. Like my kids froth it. Jenny has it for like a dessert sometimes. It's one of those things where, and it's so easy to make it so quick, and it's just so basic.
I guess because, as you said, the rice flour by itself is a bit bland. How do you give it that taste? Like, how do you?
Well, like let's say for example, like this protein powder that I had when I had it for breakfast this morning. This is white chocolate. And so mixing it through, it's not a really overpowering taste, but you can definitely taste it. But I'll always have some peanut butter, and then I have frozen berries in it, and I just stick the frozen berries in it and then just let it sit for about 5 or 10 minutes because it's obviously very hot when it comes out of the microwave. And that kind of cools it down, but it also melts the frozen fruit. And so some of the natural sugars and sweeteners in the fruit kind of seep into it. And that with a little bit of peanut butter, in prep, it was like 10 grams of peanut butter, and that was just like, unbelievable. Now it's like 20, 25. But equally, if you were having it before you train, I probably usually wouldn't have any because obviously I want to try and keep the fats low so I can get it into the system quickly. But it's just so easy and so good.
So it's obviously high carb. So per 100 grams of powder, how many grams of carbohydrates are in it?
77 grams of
So
carbohydrate.
it's 77%. So
And
this
when
is not,
and when you're in prep, the volume that you get, because you're adding quite a lot of water, it expands quite a lot. So, you definitely get some of that volume from it as well, as opposed to if you were to just like cereal is good because it serves the same purpose, but cereal, obviously, you're going to get a lot less in terms of the return on it. And it's, especially in winter, it's warm as well. It's the GOAT.
so if you're in prep and you're still on pretty low carbs, you can still most likely fit it within your diet.
Yeah, well, I think when Jenny makes it, she has 50 grams. So that would be like what? Less than 40 grams of carbohydrate.
hmm
And equally, that makes it, a pretty decent serving size. And if you're adding you could have whatever fruit you want to it. I'd usually have strawberries with it when I'm in prep because it's high fiber and it's also, they're a little bit lower carbohydrate. But like now I have it with blueberries and it's just as amazing.
This could be the dumbest question, but have you ever tried to cook it in a rice cooker?
Yeah, I guess it would. But
Maybe not.
equally, that it would probably take longer. So for me, I'm
Yeah.
like, 90 seconds in the microwave in the right. Maybe there's an experiment for you,
There you go.
MT.
That's yeah.
But if it was cooked too well, then it becomes kind of like a cake. So it's a bit dense as opposed to it still being a little bit soft. That's where you got to find out. And everyone's microwave's different. You got to find the right methodology in terms of how you like it. I've made it for you boys when we were in when we went to Adelaide.
Put it
And
in a
MG was
rice
just like a kid in a candy store. He's like, I could eat nothing else for the rest of my life. I just eat cream of rice.
I buy rice flour 3-4 packs at a time and pour them all out into one big rice flour container that I use every day. Finish it, buy another 4. It's the best. The peanut butter is honestly the game changer, man.
It is. Takes it to a new level.
You know what's going to happen? I'm going to put in a rice cooker. It's going to come out like a cake. I'm going to turn the tin over. It's going to be like a cake, and I have to slice it like knife and fork. That's what's going to happen if I try this.
A little bit of sugar-free maple syrup on it and game over, man.
You could do like a layered cream of rice cake. You could do a few of those and then just like paste the peanut butter and then stick the fruit on top, almost like a big sponge cake, but a cream of rice cake.
You actually could, right? You could layer it like and make it into like a cake.
Yeah, and each layer that you're cutting through, there's just little bits of peanut butter. You could use Nutella.
Scotty,
anything.
You know what's going to happen for your birthday, right?
Yeah, try it, bro. Do it.
For your birthday, I'm going to...
Yeah, man, you got plenty of time to master the recipe. I'll be back by July, so you can just, get it schmick.
Done. We'll do. All right, let's move on to a different one. This one's probably more so about mindset. So when considering competing, is it normal to doubt your abilities to be able to create a physique that's required to be competitive? Do you ever have clients or even yourself doubt your abilities, that you think you're going to actually make it, you're going to be able to build a physique that you can be competitive? Do you ever have clients that doubt themselves? MG, you want to start?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think, most of us have a little bit of inner doubt. And if you're not someone who's ever competed before and you compare yourself to the photos that you see on social media, or you've actually been to a show and seen someone who's, peeled inside out and you haven't done it before, you absolutely would doubt your ability to be able to look that way in the end. But I think all of us have seen countless times how many of our clients get to show day and be like, I can't believe that it's me. Right? You've heard that so many times. Mm-hmm. So I think the most important thing is you can doubt your ability or to get somewhere that you've never gotten. What you need to have zero doubt in is your ability to adhere to the plan. If you can adhere to the plan and you've got a good coach, you're sorted. You're allowed to have a little bit of self-doubt about, what you're going to look like. But if you can sacrifice and be super, super consistent and work hard, the rest will take care of itself.
What do you think, Scotty?
I think it's normal to have doubts, but equally I think there's something to be said for knowing that you've done the work and the deposits were made. So if you've left no stone unturned, then I think that's what allows you to probably not have that same, this is just me personally, to not have that same doubt. I think it's normal for a lot of athletes to have that doubt, and you definitely provide reassurance. But I think it's important to, like I said, to ensure that, and this is where it comes down to, if you've done the work, it's like if you go into an exam and you haven't prepared adequately, then it's normal to be super nervous because you're probably going to shit the bed. But if you've done the work and that you've allocated the hours and you've paid your dues, then you know that you've done everything in your position to bring the best that you can, then that's all that you can ask for. But equally, you could still do all those things and then not be rewarded from a placing perspective because it's just that you didn't have a look that perhaps that they were looking for on that day for whatever reason. But that doesn't necessarily, not even necessarily, that doesn't determine whether the look or the prep was a success or a fail. And that's where competing multiple seasons, it's like you look back at, how did I look last season? How did I look this season? Wow, the difference is night and day. And that's what bodybuilding is. You're just constantly striving to be a little bit better each time. So if you've been able to do that, then you've already won.
Yeah. I think to kind of answer this question, to add to it, is it's about trusting the process, right? About trusting your coach, and you've employed them to lead you the way, and you just need to be adherent and follow the plan. But also too is you're judging your ability to be competitive. Firstly, you're not an actual judge. So how do you know whether you're going to be competitive or not? Also too is people always judge themselves harshly and compare themselves, and they can't really see the true picture. So definitely just relying on your coach and allowing them to lead you is going to be the most important thing. And being competitive, it's really hard to know, because being competitive is based on the competition that's going to be there. And you don't know what's going to be there. And we always get this question from clients, am I going to be competitive? Do you think I'll be competitive? And I can always tell them based on previous shows and previous lineups. Well, if you're in this show, I think that you had a competitive physique, you would have done well. But I don't know if the same level of competition is going to be there, if the judges are going to see it the same way, we can always talk about nationals that happen in season B for ICN. Like, you never know the way things are going to go. So all we can do is trust the process, trust your coach, and follow the plan to your best of your abilities and enjoy the process.
Exactly.
All right, boys, we might wrap it up there. Always good to see you, Scotty. I know you're pretty much starting your day now, and you've got a bit of a long drive to get to London. So hopefully
Yes, I do.
safe and you have an absolutely amazing day. MG, I know you're probably off to bed now. See me watch her stomach a little bit while she watches the movies.
Exactly. Now, well, look, she's a trooper. She's still working, and we're trying to sort of not have her do so many sessions. But you guys know my wife well. She loves work. She loves being busy. She hates not being busy. She loves to just grind, and she's gonna, I think, have a little bit of a journey when the time comes for her to take a backward step. But at this point in time, she's full steam ahead. So there'll be no movie tonight. She'll be ready for bed. She's probably got a 6 a.m. client, I'm guessing.
When is she going to wrap up doing sessions, do you think?
Good question, MC. So, my suggestion was, at that Christmas New Year period, because, that'll put us at about the 33 week mark. But we've got our head coach here, Cole, who's taking some annual leave, and he's back, I think, the 12th or 13th of Jan. So I think once he's back, that'll be where she finishes, which will make her probably 34 weeks at that point.
Good timing.
So I'm happy for her to finish up as soon as she wants to, but I think she'll try and push it out as far as she can.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
which I get, and I respect her for. I know she loves to be busy and work, but I think at one point her body will tell her that it's had enough.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, 100%. All right, Scotty, you enjoy your day. MG, I will see you on Sunday with everyone else. We'll all chat soon.